الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين، وأصلي وأسلم على سيدنا محمد حبيبنا وشفيعنا ووسيلتنا إلى رب العالمين. اللهم صل وسلم وبارك عليه وعلى آله وأصحابه وأهل بيته وذريته وتابعيهم بإحسان إلى يوم الدين. اللهم يا رب العالمين، اللهم إنا نسألك أن تفقهنا في الدين وتعلمنا التأويل. اللهم ارزقنا حسن الخاتمة يا رب العالمين. اللهم حققنا بحقائق لا إله إلا الله سرا وعلنا يا رب العالمين، ظاهرا وباطنا يا حي يا قيوم. اللهم أحينا على سنة حبيبك المصطفى صلى الله عليه وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم. اللهم إنا نسألك علما نافعا وقلبا خاشعا ولسانا ذاكرا شاكرا. Ya Rabbil Alameen, O Allah, we ask you to send peace and blessings upon your most beloved Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, his companions and his family, and those that follow them until the last day. We ask you to grant us beneficial knowledge and to grant us a heart that is always aware and conscious of you, and a tongue that is always expressing gratitude and in your remembrance. Ameen, Ya Rabbil Alameen. Continuing on with our class on Al-Risalat al-Jami'ah, the essentials of Islam. Last week we took the 5 pillars of Islam, and today, inshallah, we will be looking at the reality of Iman. That is, وَأَصْلُ الْإِيمَانِ, the foundation of Iman. فقال المؤلف الحبيب أحمد بن زين رحمه الله ونفعنا بعلومه في الدارين آمين. وأصل الإيمان أن تعتقد أن الله تعالى موجود. It says the foundation of Iman, the reality of Iman, is that you are convinced that Allah exists, أنه موجود. And then he says وأنه تعالى واحد لا شريك له, that Allah Ta'ala is one without partner. لا شريك له ولا مثل له ولا شبه له, without partner, without likeness, nor similarity. Here he has already started to list what we call the sifat of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the attributes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, which the ulama of Ahlul Sunnah wal Jama'ah, particularly in the number 20 sifat, attribute of existence. Meaning the first step in our Iman is to believe that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala possesses, has this particular sifa, attribute of wujud, meaning he exists. Because if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is that, his essence didn't exist, no hearing, there would be no seeing, there would be no kalam, there would be no ilm, there would be no irada. So therefore, the foundational attribute of all of the sifat of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is sifatul wujud, that is the existence. And he says, Aslul iman an ta'taqid. What does it mean an ta'taqid? That you simply believe? It means that you believe beyond any shadow of a doubt. Because i'tiqad comes from a root word meaning aqada. Aqad is when you got something you're tied up, tied into a knot. Aqada shay. You've tied it up into a knot, meaning you can't undo it anymore. Meaning beyond any shadow of a doubt. You're convinced beyond any shadow of a doubt, 100%. There are 2 ways that people come to have belief in Allah. One is that they take existence, creation, and from creation, they prove that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala exists. The other type of people, and these are the elite, is that the first thing that they witness is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And from Allah, they establish and prove that creation exists. So for the majority of people, they look around them. You look around you, and you see the sun, you see the moon, you see the stars, you see the sky, earth, mountains, the rivers, land. And you say to yourself, where did these come from? Just like if you were to see a portrait, a banner with a picture on it or some signage. You say, I didn't see the artist paint the banner or the picture. Therefore, I don't believe that there was someone that was responsible for it, but it must have come up by itself. Or you have a book in front of you, like this book that you're holding here, and you look at it, it's got chapter 1, chapter 2, it's got paragraphs, it's got sentences, words, letters, punctuation, and you look at this book, you say, there's no sign that there was an author to this book. What do you mean? I didn't see anyone write this book. No, you didn't see anyone write this book. Therefore, the only logical conclusion is that this book brought itself together. No one says this book brought itself together. No sane person. Ask any 5-year-old, they'll know. A book has to have an author. This entire universe is a book, is a portrait. You didn't see it getting put together, obviously, because you weren't around. But just because you didn't see it getting put together, you've seen its effects. Just like you've seen the effect of the author of the book or the artist in his painting or his canvas. So this takes you back, traces you back to its original source, and that is the author or the artist. And when you look at the book and you start reading the book, if it's a beautiful book and you're really entranced and really interested, you say, oh, what a wonderful book this is. What a beautiful book this is. And you start to praise the book. Fantastic book. Amazing book. Or you look at a beautiful painting. World-class painting. And you look at the painting and you begin to adore it and you begin to appreciate it. Look, so what a wonderful painting this is. How beautiful this painting is. How amazing this painting is. The real observer, if you're really smart, you're not going to stop at the painting. You're not going to stop at the book. But rather, as you read the book and appreciate the book, you're going to say, not only are you going to say what a wonderful book this is, but you're going to say what an amazing author that wrote the book. And so rather than praising the book itself, you start to acknowledge and praise the author that wrote the book. And when you're in the art gallery, I don't know how many people go into the art gallery in New South Wales, not many. But we go to cinemas and movies, mashallah. So when you go to the art gallery and you start to look at the various paintings, rather than simply appreciating the painting, you start to say, what a skillful and talented artist that was. And so that painting begins to introduce you to the attributes of the painter. And so this universe that you see around you should introduce you to the attributes of He who created the universe. And if any atheist has any problem with regard to, I didn't see it being made, well, you didn't see your car being made, you didn't see your phone being made, but you don't believe that they popped out of thin air. So you didn't need to be around to see the universe being made, because every effect has a cause. Simple argument, simple logic, nothing comes out haphazardly. And so the beginning of Iman, the asl, the foundation of Iman, and ta'taqida anna Allah mawjood. That you really, really believe that Allah is mawjood. And in fact, the ulama of Aqidah say that this path to ma'rifah, this path to coming to know that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala exists, every Muslim must follow that particular path. And I'm going to mention atheists from time to time, because for many of us, these are the type of beliefs that we're going to come into contact with. So the argument might come back and not only say that we didn't see this universe being created, but rather it may deny the existence of a creator because they cannot see the creator immediately. They cannot witness the creator immediately. And in a sense, this is trying to apply a false and baseless logic. Just like you do have a device, but it was created or was manufactured or was made, you don't necessarily need to see the one that made that device right there and then, in front of you, before you, in order to believe that that effect has a cause. Because the natural occurrence events in our lives makes us conclude that every effect, everything that you see around you has something that caused it. And so anyone that commits a crime, then they're going to go look for who was that perpetrator of the crime. No one says, oh, that crime happened by itself. Even the crime had a perpetrator and they have to go after the perpetrator. So this i'tiqad that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is mawjood, is existent, is present, meaning that there was no point in time that he was non-existent, and there will be no point in time that he will lose this attribute of existence. The attribute of Allah being in his wujud and his existence is an eternal attribute, having no beginning and having no end. He always was mawjood, and he is mawjood, and he always is going to be mawjood and existent, present. Because the attributes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala are all perfect. This one and his wahdaniyah, and his sifa of kalam, his sifa of sama, his speech, and his hearing. They're all perfect in their attributes. So that you're convinced that Allah exists and that He is one. Annahu wahidun. That Allah Ta'ala is one. Meaning there's not more than one God. There's not more than one entity that is in charge of the affairs of this universe. If someone said, well, there's two gods, or actually there's three gods, then we'll ask the question, to which one of them does the final decision rest? God number one wants to create human being in white color. God number two wants to create human being in brown color. What color does a human being come? We say he comes brown. Therefore, the God number one that desired a human being to be created white, his request wasn't fulfilled. So therefore, he is not an all-powerful God. If he's not an all-powerful God, he no longer fits our description of the one true God. So take the description, or take this title of God of him, and whatever you want to call him something else, but not the supreme being and the supreme creator. So there is only one God that has an ultimate, compelling attribute of his, and there can be no two, nor three, nor four. There's no multiplicity in Godship, if you like, in Lordship, in the one who is responsible for the affairs of this particular universe. I've never seen a car that has two steering wheels, other than the arcades. Two steering wheels that go against each other. But the one car only has one steering wheel. There's only one pilot. Yes, there's a co-pilot, just in case, but there's one pilot to the plane. There's only one person that gives directions to a vehicle. Go forward, go back, north, south, east, west. Likewise, there's only one in charge of the affairs of this existence, this universe. Cannot be two. So he's wahidun. La sharika lahu. He has no partner. Meaning he has no one that is like him in all of his attributes. A partner, a sharik, meaning he is his associate in all of the attributes that he has. In his existence, in his sight, in his hearing, in his knowledge, in his power, in his will, in his irada, in his qudra. There's no one that is like Allah in all of his attributes. لَيْسَ كَمِثْلِهِ شَيْءٍ. There's nothing like him. وَهُوَ السَّمِيعُ الْبَصِيرُ. Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the one that created khalq. He created creation. And if Allah created creation, and he was when there was nothing, he cannot be like his creation. Because if he were to be like his creation, then he himself would need a cause, something to bring him into effect. If he himself needed something to bring him into effect, then that which brought him into effect itself needs something to bring itself into effect. And that one before that needed something to bring it into effect, and therefore you'll continue in this particular cycle and you'll never get to a beginning. Therefore, common sense says that the initial cause cannot have an external cause. The initial cause cannot have an external cause. Are you with me understanding? If there's someone that doesn't understand, because in these particular concepts we need to understand 100%. Because maybe some of us haven't been exposed to that type of mental thinking, right? This process. Because some people believe or claim that you Muslims you were born Muslim, you were born believing in God, and that's why you're Muslim, that's why you believe in Allah. But if you really studied, if you really researched, then you'll find they say that there's no proof. So you yourself have to undergo this particular process, this logical, rational process. So you all understand? There's one person that doesn't understand, then it's obligatory for us to repeat the concept. Don't be shy. If you don't understand, raise your hand or call out. I don't understand. Please repeat. So, there can be none like Allah in all of His attributes. Otherwise, He wouldn't be unique. And if He wasn't unique, then He wouldn't be the sole Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So this is the sharik. A sharik is someone who is like you in all attributes. So Allah Ta'ala has no sharika lahu, wala mithla lahu, and there is no one that is like Him. La mithla lahu, wala shibha lahu. So Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala has no one that is like Him in most of their attributes. There's no one like Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala in maybe 5 out of 20 attributes, or 10 out of 20, or 18 out of 20. Sometimes you can have 2 people, and they can be identical twins, like one another, exactly the same attributes. Or they could be twins, they could be similar to one another in most of the attributes. Or they could be similar to one another in only a few attributes. There is no one that is like Allah in only a few of His attributes, even one of His attributes. Meaning, if you were to take the attribute of qudra, of power, having power over all things and all affairs, there's no one that is like Allah in that power. Someone might ask, well, you say that Allah is all powerful, so therefore, can you answer me this question? Can God create a rock that He cannot lift? If God is all powerful, would He not be strong enough and powerful enough to create a rock that He cannot lift? Or could God create or build a wall that He cannot climb over? These are some questions that some people will raise with regard to our concept of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And so to ask, can Allah create a rock that He cannot lift, itself is a phallus question, it's a fallacy. It cannot be asked. Likewise, the question, can Allah create a wall that He cannot cross over, again, is a question that is illogical to be asked. Because by the nature of the attributes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, is that He is capable of all things. And this question itself is assuming that the rock is too heavy for Him to lift, and that the wall is too high for Him to climb. It is like a person saying, what happens when an irresistible force hits an immovable object? An irresistible force, meaning a force coming forward that nothing can stand in its way. What happens when this force is moving? Nothing can stand in its way by definition, because it's irresistible. Nothing can resist this force. What happens when it hits an immovable object somewhere in space? There's an object, some substance, that nothing at all in the universe can move this particular object. It's immovable. So if you had an irresistible force coming into impact with an immovable object, the question is, what is the result? What happens? Question. What happens? Nothing happens. It shouldn't move. It's going to move. The immovable object is going to move, and the irresistible force is going to continue forcing through. Anyone else? Big Bang. And the earth will be created again. Big Bang. The question itself is impossible and inconceivable. The human being cannot conceive that question. And what we mean by the human being cannot conceive that question, meaning it is rationally impossible to picture the existence of an immovable, of an irresistible force in existence at the same time as an immovable object. It is illogical and unacceptable. It cannot be. Why can't it be? Because if you've defined the force as irresistible, what does irresistible mean? It means nothing can stand in its way. It means nothing can stand in its way. But you're telling me at the same time there's an immovable object. What does an immovable object mean? It means nothing can move it. How can you have something that cannot be moved exist at the same time as a force that nothing can stop it? It's either this or that. So the person posing the question has in fact tricked your mind, because you need to question the question first. You say, that question cannot exist. It is impossible. It is humanly inconceivable for that situation to be present and to exist. It goes against all rules of logic. It cannot be. Either there is an irresistible force, but there's no immovable object. Because that irresistible force, whenever it hits something, it's going to move it. But if there's something that cannot be moved, that means there cannot be an irresistible force, because that thing cannot be moved. So it's either this or that. Again, it's like saying, can you draw for me a four-legged tripod? There's a tripod. It's got this little tripod there. Can you draw for me a four-legged tripod? Or get for me next week, inshallah. Don't get this one, get one with four legs. Khalas? Good luck. Good luck. What's a four-legged tripod? Huh?
It's not a triangle.
It's not a?
It's not a tripod.
It's not a tripod. So if you're saying, get me a four-legged tripod, either get me a four-legged object, right? Or you cannot call it four-legged and tripod at the same time, because tripod means something with three legs. Three. Once it's got four legs, I no longer call it a tripod. Right? So there's a problem in that particular statement. Or can you draw for me a four-sided circle? Circle has one side only. You can't give me a four-sided circle. Right? So we need to question the question at times when we are asked them, particularly regarding Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Then he says, وَهُوَ السَّمِيعُ الْبَصِيرُ, and he is لَيْسَ كَمِثْلِهِ شَيْءٌ وَهُوَ السَّمِيعُ الْبَصِيرُ, he is the all-hearing and the all-seeing. Allah ta'ala has the sifa of sama' and the sifa of basar. He has the attribute of hearing and he has the attribute of sight. But we said, our attributes and his attributes, they may have the same titles. You have sama', you can hear, yes. You have eyesight, you can see, your basir, yes. Allah has sama', yes, he has hearing. Allah has basar, Allah has eyesight, yes. But they are only similar in name. That's it. Only similar in name. The how, the method, the type, its reality, there is absolutely no comparison whatsoever. The only similarity is in name. Because our eyesight is limited to what they call the white light spectrum. White light spectrum. You can't see that which is beyond or that which is before that white light spectrum. So you cannot see the UV rays, you cannot see infrared rays, you cannot see gamma rays, all of these things, you cannot see them with your eyesight, but they exist. You cannot see when it's dark. You need light in order to be able to see. You cannot see. You need light in order to be able to see. And you cannot see what is beyond solid objects. You have to go around the solid object in order to be able to see through it. You cannot see beyond a certain distance. You have to get closer. Once you get too far, you can no longer see. So our eyesight has so many faults and imperfections and limitations. As for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's basar, then it is unlike ours. It is perfect in every sense. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, because He created existence in all of His forms, there is nothing that escapes His basar, nothing that escapes His sight. If we're looking north, we can't see south. If we're looking east, we can't see west. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's sight encompasses all directions and all space, because Allah created direction and Allah created space. So nothing of this creation and existence limits Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in that attribute of His basar, of His sight. We see with physical eyes, but Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is not limited by physical dimensions and organs. This is a human trait, and they said there is nothing like Him. Our sama', our hearing, we can only again hear certain frequencies. There are animals and insects that hear frequencies that we can't hear. And if it is too far away from us, we also cannot hear. We can only hear that which is within a certain distance from us. We can hear sounds, but there are sounds that we don't know what they mean. Someone speaks in Chinese, Swahili, I don't know what he's saying. I can hear him, but I have absolutely no idea what he's saying. He may as well be speaking French. I don't know. I cannot tell, cannot understand. And so even though he may be using same sounds that you yourself know, but when he places those sounds together in a particular way, you can no longer understand. Or there are 2 or 3 people speaking to you at the same time. You say, excuse me, so one at a time. It's like you're in a classroom at school. 2, 3, 4 people start to speak at the same time. Teacher says, everyone be quiet. Whoever wants to speak, ask a question, put their hand up. Why? Because he or she can only take one speech at a time. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala understands all languages because He created all languages. Arabic, English, Chinese, French, Swahili, Swedish, Danish. Allah created all languages. Allah understands all languages. If a person were to ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in his own language, in Chinese, in Japanese, in Urdu, Allah understands. He needs no interpreter. Human beings don't understand. They need an interpreter, someone who knows that language. If all the human beings on earth, and all the jinn on earth, and all the angels on earth were to ask Allah at the same time, each one has a different request. 6 billion people or so on earth. Allah knows how many angels and how many jinn. All these billions of creatures, all at the same instant, the same second, say, Ya Allah, I want this. And each one asks a different request. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows each one in each language that they are requesting and can fulfill it immediately. As for human beings, no. 2 people come and they request something from them at the same time. They say one at a time. So our hearing, yes, we have hearing. Allah has hearing, yes, but they're only similar in name and title. لَيْسَ كَمِثْلِهِ شَيْءٌ وَهُوَ السَّمِيعُ الْبَصِيرُ. Then he says, خَلَقَ السَّمَاوَاتِ وَالْأَرْضِ. Allah created the heavens and the earth. He calls them the samawat and ard. The heavens, the various heavens, there are various spheres, atmospheres. And these are the atmospheres of this particular universe. Beyond that is the heavenly world, or the spiritual world. And these have heavens beyond the heavens that we have here in this physical world. And there are the heavens in which the Anbiya were visited, the prophets were visited by their best and their beloved Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam during the Isra and the Mi'raj. The earth, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made it a plain. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made the earth flat and a plain. It is as though it's been rolled out flat in order to assist and to make easy for people they're living on it. Imagine if the earth was all mountains, and there were no flat plains. It would be difficult to build on it. It would be difficult to live. It would be difficult to plant, to allow it to become fertile, but Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has made it such that it is flat. So Allah ta'ala created the earth and He created the heavens. When you create or when you manufacture from existing materials a roof of a building, then that roof, you need to ensure that there's walls, or at least there's pillars that continue to hold the roof up. Because what else is going to hold the roof up? It's not going to stand there mid-air. But this entire sky is like a roof. Where are the pillars? Has anyone ever asked themselves, where are the walls that hold the roof, the sky, the atmospheres of the earth up? Where are they? Where are the walls? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created the heavens, and He holds the heavens up without any interference by any one of His creatures. Allah created the heavens and the earth. خَلَقَ السَّمَاوَاتِ وَالْأَرْضِ وَخَلَقَ الْمَوْتَ وَالْحَيَاةِ. Allah also created death, maut, and hayah. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created death and life. Death meaning that there was a point in time in which you were non-existent. You weren't around. You weren't here. And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala brought you into existence. And there will come a time in which your physical body will no longer be in existence. And so the human being goes through various stages in their lives. You go through stages. There was a stage in which you were in the world of the souls, alamul arwah. Before that you were nothing. Then Allah Ta'ala brought you into alamul arwah, the world of the souls. There was a day before we all came into this dunya, Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala extracted from Sayyidina Adam alayhi salam all of his abna, all of his awlad, all of his daughters, all of his descendants. And He laid them there on a plain. And He said, am I not your Lord? Asking them. They're all arwah, you are all there. Big party, big assembly at school. Every Friday, every Monday, all the students at school have an assembly. Principal says, look, I'm telling you now, anyone misbehaves, anyone tries to undermine my authority as principal, I'm telling you right now, you witness, you agree? Yes, we agree. Yes, miss, yes, sir. Everyone agree. Why? So that way when you come and try and play out, you got no excuse. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala allowed everyone to be witness over their own selves on that day. The ulama call it Yawm Alastu bi Rabbikum. That was the day in which Allah Ta'ala said and addressed every single soul and Lord, am I not your Rabb? Am I not your Lord? Even the kuffar, even the kuffar. Even those who don't believe in Allah were there, even those who don't believe in Allah were there. Even those who are the worst people on earth, even those who are the worst people on earth. Even Fir'aun, yes, Fir'aun was there in his soul. Every single soul, good, bad, believing in Allah and rejecting the existence of Allah, they all gathered on that day. And what did they all say? They all said yes. Every single soul said yes. But when they came into this dunya, they may have been distracted. They may have been diverted. They may have been clouded, allowed their fitrah, the original state, this natural state that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has created every human being upon as they come into this particular short and temporary life. كُلُّ مَوْلُودٍ يُولَدُ عَلَى الْفِطْرَةِ. Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, he says, every newborn child comes into this world on a clean slate. What does it mean, clean slate? Meaning they are on fitrah. They're so pure, so innocent. So what makes them become so wrong, so bad, so misguided at times? Their environment, the way that they're brought up, the way that they're taught. They see people doing wrong things, and they start doing the wrong thing. And so they are influenced. However, once they come to the age of puberty, maturity, their mind able to think for itself, their limbs, their body is able to fend for itself. Now we consider you an adult. Islam says you are an adult not when you're 18. You are an adult when you are a man, when you are a woman, when you're a man or woman, when you've reached that age of puberty, when you reach that age of maturity. Now, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's address comes to you directly. Pray 5 times a day. If Ramadan comes and you're of that particular age, from the age of 9, it's possible for that time to come, 10, 11, 12. If it hasn't come by the age of 15, then by default we say now, you are of mature age because you haven't seen the signs. So any point in time there, we can say, Salah is now obligatory upon you. Sawm, fasting is obligatory upon you. You must perform the obligations, know what is halal, know what is haram. But you can't wait for your children to reach that age of puberty and then start to teach them. Just like someone wants to come and work for you in your organization, your company. Do you wait for the first day in which they start working to teach them about what they need to do? Or do you give them role and responsibilities and tasks beforehand? Say, well, look, this is the role, this is the position that is vacant, these are your duties, these are your responsibilities. Are you ready to do it? And if they say, yes, I'm ready, then I've got no excuse on the first day. Say, oh, I don't want to do this, I don't want to do that. I'll do this, but actually not that one. Or put this one half and replace it with something else. That's not the time now. You've already accepted. And so if you've accepted Islam, then you've accepted Islam, all of it, fully. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, when you enter Islam wholeheartedly, fully, kafa, all of it. Don't tell me, yes, this part of Islam I like, but the other part I don't like. The part that you don't like, you need to work on it. You might not be strong yet, but if you've got something that's preventing you from actually fulfilling those practices, those wajibat, you need to ask someone to help you. Perhaps you need to know some wisdoms behind it. Perhaps you need to know how it's going to help you in your life, how it's going to protect you from some type of calamity or difficulty. And so when you come to know the benefits, and all the ibadat, there is benefit that some we realize, and some we don't. So Allah Ta'ala created death, and He created life, haya. How did Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala create haya? Life. Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala created life from nothing. From Adam, there was nothing, and Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala created life. Without life, there would be nothing. Allah created you, but not only did He create you, but He sustained you and He nourished you. And He subjugated the heavens and the earth and everything within for you. And so that meal that you have, the loaf of bread, the slice of bread that you have, or the glass of milk that you have, what was there? There was grass, and there was earth, and there was sun, and there was rain, and there were cows, and there were farmers, and there were tractors, and there were trucks, and there were filtration processes, and all of these things, and transport and packaging, all for what? For you. Just for that 250 mils of milk, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala got together 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 people in order to bring you that 250 mil glass of milk. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sakhara lakum. He subjugated for you everything in the heavens and the earth for you. And so therefore, why do you not return back to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? Allah ta'ala created death and life. وَخَلَقَ الْمَوْتَ وَالْحَيَاةَ وَالطَّاعَةَ وَالْمَعْصِيَةَ. Ta'a, obedience. Ma'asiyah, disobedience. Allah created obedience. So when you're standing before Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in salah and prayer, or you're in supplication, in dua to Allah wa ta'ala, going out giving some sadaqah, in His dhikr, in His remembrance, advising someone, helping them with something around the house for the sake of Allah, holding an old lady's shopping bags, or helping a blind person cross the street, or you see a crying, weeping child in the shopping center, and so you take them to the information desk so they can make an announcement. He who's lost little Willie, brown eyes, blue hair, blue eyes, brown hair. They say no blue hair. You get scared, like you run the other direction. You see someone like that in the shopping center. So you're in the service of people. In this way, this ta'ah that you do, this act of obedience that you do, to whom do you attribute its beauty? To Allah. Because it is Allah, first of all, gave you the body to do it. Second of all, He allowed you the opportunity to perform it. He created that inclination, that desire, that mahabba, that irada, to want to do the khayr, to want to do the good. Because there are people who want to do bad, who want to disobey Allah. And there are others who want to do good and obey Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And so you should always acknowledge that the source of that good, of that khayr, is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, because He not only did He create you, but He also created your actions. Your actions, you don't create yourself. You don't create yourself, but rather you are limited. And the proof that you cannot do whatever you want is, I tell you, what's your name? Omar, stand up. Did you do this on your own? You did it on your own, okay. Stand on your right foot, Omar. Good. Stand on your right foot. Right foot. You standing? Okay, good. Stand on your left foot, Omar. No. Stand on your right foot. Keep standing on your right foot. And stand on. Oh, okay. Now, I want you to lift both your feet up and keep them up. Before you had your left foot in the air. Now your left and right foot in the air. Now someone's doing that for you. So, you attributed the movement of your left foot into the air to yourself. And then when you put it down and the right foot in the air, to yourself. But can you do both in the air and keep them there? No, you can't. Therefore, you're not fully capable of being in control of all of your actions. Therefore, I love you, Umar. You're handsome, you're strong, but you're not fully powerful. You're not able to create your own actions. It is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that creates us and creates all of our actions. Not only does He create our acts of obedience, because when He does that, He creates within our hearts an irada, a desire, willpower. Willpower for what? For doing good. That's called tawfiq. Allah has made us really successful people, lucky people. He's made us able and to be thinking of doing good. But if we sometimes find an inclination, a leaning towards some type of act of disobedience, then this is an inclination towards ma'siyah, that which is displeasing to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Where did it come from? It came either from my own self, that desire, or it came perhaps from a suggestion of shaitan, of devil, because we each have shayateen. There's no one in this world except they have shayateen. And these shayateen look exactly like you. They speak like you. Their features exactly like you. Proof of this is that Dajjal, at the end of time, when he comes around, and then he starts to claim to people that he is God, that he is Allah, so he can start being worshipped. When he starts claiming this, and he starts showing them proofs, he says, look, he says to some lady, he says, your husband died a long time ago. What if I were to bring him back to life from the dead? I'll raise him from his grave, and you watch, he'll believe in me. And so Dajjal, Antichrist, he goes and he calls her husband from the dead, from the grave. He comes walking, he looks like her husband, he speaks like her husband, she sees him like her husband. He says, who am I? He says, you are God, you are Allah. And he says, you believe in me? Yes, he says. And he says, what do you have to say to your wife? And so he says to her, he says, you believe in him? You believe in him? He's God. And he goes back. Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, he said, all that Dajjal did was he got one of his jinni friends, that particular shaitan, that particular devil, that was the qareem, that was the associate devil of that person, looked like him, talked like him, and he brought him here in order to make it appear that it was that lady's husband. This is a fitna. It's a tribulation. And many people will fall into that particular trap. In the time of Dajjal, if he comes out, then particularly our women and our children should remain in their homes, because none is safe from the fitna of Dajjal. And in the time of Dajjal, we are more in need of memorizing and reciting the first 10 ayat of Surah Al-Kahf and the last 10 ayat of Surah Al-Kahf, for they in the hadith of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, will serve as a means of protection against the fitna of Dajjal. Furthermore, at the end of our salah, when we finish our salat al-Ibrahimiyyah, fil alameen annaka hamidun majid, to make the dua that Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam made, and he says, Allahumma inni a'udhu bika min adhab al-qabr, adhab jahannam, wa min fitnati al-mahya wal-mamat, wa min fitnati al-masih al-dajjal. In our salah, as Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam used to make this particular dua at the end of his salah before the salah, Allahumma inni a'udhu bika min adhab jahannam, wa min adhab al-qabr, min fitnati al-mahya wal-mamat, وَمِن فِتْنَةِ الْمَسِيحِ الدَّجَّالِ. 4 things you ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to protect you from. If you cover these 4 things, then you've covered everything in this life and the next life. Because there's no fitna in this life greater than that fitna of Dajjal. Because the fitna of Dajjal comes and targets our iman. If you were to be tried and tested in your wealth, in your health, it's a problem, but it's not a serious problem in comparison to being tested in your iman. Because if you lose $100,000 today, inshallah you'll make it up in 10 years' time, in 5 years' time, 2 years' time. And even if you don't, no skin off your nose. If you lose your health, if you lose 1 hand, if you lose 2 hands, you still got 2 feet. If you lose 2 feet, you still got 2 hands. If you lose 1 eye, you still got another eye. If you lose 1 kidney, you still got another one. And then what? If you lose them all, the worst thing is going to happen is you're going to die. Everyone's going to die. It's not like something strange happened to you. You're going to die now, you're going to die later. But at one point in time, you're going to die. So half a problem. But if you lose La ilaha illallah, if you lose Muhammadun Rasulullah, there's many youth they don't realize. They say, I'm young, I'm 15, I'm 17, I'll go have fun with the boys. Have fun with the boys until when? Have fun, you'll be laughing now. But he who laughs in this dunya shall cry on Yawm al-Qiyamah, shall weep on Yawm al-Qiyamah. You laugh too much. And it is said that excessive laughter hardens the heart, because a person who laughs so much starts to consider everything as a joke. They take the whole life as a joke. Some people, this is how they are. They're clowns. They're clowns in the circus, they're clowns at school, they're clowns on the playing field, they're clowns in their studies, they're clowns in their ibadah. They are clowns. They may as well just go to some circus that they bring around every so often, in some of these big parks, and just go traveling with these guys. Just be a clown, because that's what you're doing. You're not taking life seriously. And so there is a time of jidd, what we call seriousness. And so the ulama say in Arabic, man jadda, you serious? Put in the effort. Then you'll find your results. But if there's no jidd, not jadd meaning a grandfather, but if there's no seriousness, if there's no real effort, then what are you expecting? There's no results going to come. You need to really put in the hard yards and the hard work. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created al-haya wal-ta'a wal-ma'siyah and disobedience. But when we attribute obedience to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and khair, this is adab. And when we say that the ma'siyah, that the shar, obviously its source is from Allah, because nothing can happen without Allah's decree and will, but out of adab, manners, good manners. We don't say Allah caused this to happen. Of course, nothing happens without Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's will. We say this is from our anfus. This shar, this corruption, this fasad, as Allah ta'ala says, He says, this fasad that was apparent in the sea and on the land is because of what you used to do with your own hands. Because this is what caused it to happen. You were the cause of this. Obviously, the secondary cause of the ultimate cause, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala allowed it to happen. for you to exercise your free will, but that free will, once it was exercised with the decree and permission of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, this is what resulted in that evil that occurred in this world. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala also created as-sihhata was-saqam, health, well-being, and illness, disease. When you have good health, what do you attribute good health to? I eat very well, I eat healthy, good food. I work out every day, I exercise, I don't smoke, and therefore I am healthy. Wrong. Wrong. It is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that has ordained that you be healthy. And these are just asbab. They're just means, there's means to it. But it is not the ultimate cause, because how many people who eat the right food, who don't smoke, who ensure that they stay away from anything that may harm their health, but they become afflicted by some disease in their neurology, in their nervous system, in something or other. How? Oh, everything. I'm doing everything right. Eating all healthy foods, exercising. How did it happen? Because all of these things are means. But just because they exist doesn't mean that the result should also be there. It is Allah that created health. Not only did Allah create health, but also sickness and illness. And so there might be a person that smokes and has all the wrong food as well, but despite all that, they're healthy. There's no problems with them. So sometimes those natural rules do not are not applied in the same way that they're applied for everyone. And that illness, when it comes, for every illness, for every da, as Rasulullah said, there is a dawa, there is a treatment, there's a remedy, but we just don't know the remedy yet. And so as every day passes, people who continue to research within the plant kingdom, the animal kingdom, begin to find certain particles and ingredients which, when put together, will serve as some type of remedy and healing for people's sickness. And if you look at ancient medicine, ancient Chinese medicine, herbal medicine, there will be some type of prescription for every single plant and herb that they can come into contact with. Traditional societies knew how to extract remedies and treatment from those plants which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created. Each one has particular properties that will assist. Not only did Allah Ta'ala create health and sickness, but He also created وَجَمِيعَ الْكَوْنِ وَمَا فِيهِ, and the entire universe and everything that this universe contains. Allah created it all. This entire universe and that which it contains, meaning there is nothing in this universe, no matter how large nor small, except that it was created by Allah. You can see it, Allah created it. You can't see it, Allah also created it. وَخَلَقَ الْخَلْقَ وَأَعْمَالَهُمْ, and Allah created human beings. Not only did He create human beings and their actions, as we explained. وَقَدَّرَ أَرْزَاقَهُمْ وَآجَالَهُمْ, He has also determined their provision and their lifespan, their arzaq and their ajal. Their arzaq meaning their provision. What you're going to eat, that's rizq. What you're going to drink, that's your provision. What you're going to wear is clothes, that's your provision. What's going to be your home, your dwelling, your shelter, that's your provision. What you're going to ride to work around the road, that's also your rizq and your provision. Allah has predetermined all of it. It's not going to increase and it's not going to decrease. Therefore, for you to worry about your rizq and its lack of presence in your life, then it's a sign that you're worrying about something that's already been guaranteed for you. So if your rizq and provision has already been guaranteed for you, then therefore you should start worrying about something else. Worry about your state with Allah, your relationship with Allah, your iman, and work on this. Because if Allah has guaranteed for you your rizq, but your iman, you don't know what the state of iman is going to be when you meet Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Therefore, you'll try and exercise all efforts in order to ensure that your iman is at its strongest. As for your rizq, it's all predetermined. Also your ajal, your lifespan, no matter what you do in life. You can't extend, you can't decrease. Yes, there are certain means that if you do, and Allah Ta'ala has permitted for you, this will increase your lifespan. Salat al-Rahim. So Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam tells us that when you have good relationships with your family, with your relatives, this is going to extend your lifespan. Extend your lifespan within the constraint and the limit that Allah Ta'ala has already decreed for you. Meaning if you had good relations with your family, with your relatives, Allah will increase your life. But if you had bad relations with them, there's going to be no increase. But the option is there. You want to do it, then it'll increase. And you don't do it, it's not going to increase. But either way, Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala was well aware of that increase or lack of increase in your ajal and your lifespan. So if your lifespan is already determined, but you don't know when it is going to happen, therefore, you should always be ready. If someone says to you, look, I'm going to pick you up and take you on a little trip, and it's a trip that you know is going to have to happen, but you don't know when, then common sense says you have to wear your clothes, be ready, everything suitable and ready and appropriate. Anytime your host or your friend knocks on the door, you're ready to go. Because if he comes and you're not ready, it means you haven't prepared yourself. But you no longer have any time to prepare yourself. So if you need to take food on the journey, you need to take water, you need to take clothes, you need to take overnight bag, there's no longer time to prepare. And so it's going to be a difficult journey. So therefore you must always be prepared for that journey. And there's going to be someone that is going to knock on every one of our doors. The angel of death. And when the angel of death knocks on your door, he's not going to just give you the option. You want me to come back tomorrow? You're not going to be able to say, excuse me, Malak al-Maut, I've been so good. Do you mind giving me another half an hour? Malak al-Maut says, I have this book. And your appointment is at 3:47 p.m. and 27 seconds. 17 seconds left, 16 seconds left, 15 seconds left. You cannot change it. No matter how special you are, if you're not ready for that appointment, for that journey, then no matter what you do, you cannot change that appointment. So therefore, common sense says that you must always be ready for death. Because death may come at the time in which you are least prepared. And if death comes upon you, guess what? Death has no rules. Angel of death does not have rules, meaning I only come to those who are over the age of 65. Or I only come to those who are sick and in hospital beds for 3 weeks intensive care. No. Angel of death doesn't have these rules. He hasn't been given this criterion by Allah. But rather, every year, on the night of the 15th of Sha'ban, Laylatul Nisfi min Sha'ban, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will hand over to Malak al-Maut, to the angel of death, from Kitab, from the mother of books and tablets in the heavens, the names of all people. Appointment with death for the next 350 days, 354 days in the lunar year. For the next 350 days, there is a diary that Malak al-Maut receives on the 15th, the night of the 15th of Sha'ban. 15th of Sha'ban was many months ago. We're coming now a couple of months, Rajab, Sha'ban, Ramadan, Rajab, Sha'ban before Ramadan. And so a couple of months, Sha'ban comes again. But in these couple of months that are left, Malak al-Maut already has a list of the names of every single person that he was scheduled to take their soul. And there are people right now on earth, in this country, in this state, in this city, in this suburb, who believe that they are going to be on earth for another year. And so they're renewing their insurance policy for another year. They're ensuring that they arrange their investment schemes for long-term investment. They're ensuring that they purchase particular things with the intention that they're going to be around for a few years and to renovate and to live in it and to move in it. And so they're making plans. What am I going to do in 10 years' time in my career path? And what am I going to study? What am I going to gain? But little do they know that perhaps in a month's time, they're not going to be around. There are people like this. We don't know whether we're going to be around. There were people that were with us last year, 2 years ago, 3 years ago. They didn't know that they won't be here now, but they're not here now. So death is something that is going to come to every single person. It's going to come to you and to I. It came to the most beloved of people and most beloved of preachers, to Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. But the difference between the death that came to him and the death that came to us is that Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam's last words before he left this life, Bal ar-rafiqul a'la. Rather, I seek that higher companionship in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He desired that death. He desired that meeting with Allah. Man ahabba liqa'a Allah, ahabba Allah liqa'ah. If you really desire, love to meet Allah, then this has already provided you the answer, will Allah love to meet you? Because if you love to meet Allah, then surely Allah will love to meet you. So my question tonight, do you and I love to meet Allah? Are you and I ready to meet Allah? Are you ready to go into your grave tonight? And this is a serious question. Are you ready to enter your grave tonight? Some people think, well, why are you scaring us? I'm not scaring you. But that's reality. And if we don't speak like this, then we're not going to move. If you are ready to enter your grave tonight, alhamdulillah, you love to meet Allah and Allah loves to meet you. But if there is 1% chance that you are not ready to meet Allah, not ready to move into your grave, if you were told tonight, pack your bags up, you're going to move to Rookwood Cemetery, not as the gatekeeper, but you're going to live inside. What are you going to do? You can't change. Decision be made. What are you going to do? Malak al-Maut is going to come and tell you. You're going to have to come with him. You can't reject. And if you do reject, then the process of the extraction of your soul is going to be a very painful one. Because there's no place in your body, in your head, in your arms, in your chest, in your feet, except that your ruh has been mixed with. And if your soul doesn't want to come out, then Malakul Maut is going to rip it out. And when he rips it out, it's going to be painful. But if you desire to come, if you desire to move on to meet Allah, if you love to meet Allah, then it's going to be so smooth. As Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, imagine you have some moist dough, ajeen. Your mother's making bread, fresh bread at home, made the beautiful flour, beautiful dough, so moist, so soft. And then, a strand of hair got stuck in the dough. How hard is it to take the strand of hair out? Very easy. Take it out like this, simple. But a person whose soul doesn't want to leave their body, imagine a thorn. A thorn is stuck in a, what do you call it? Wool. How difficult that thorn is tangled and tangled and tangled by the small strands of wool. You're going to rip the thorn out, but ripping parts of that wool. Likewise, the extraction of the soul of the one who disbelieves in Allah, or has lived a life going against the obedience of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, it's scared. But for the one that wants to meet Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, 2 beautiful angels will come down from the heavens, wearing white, smelling beautiful, looking so immaculate and so presentable, and they'll come with the beautiful blankets from Jannah, and they'll take your soul and place the soul in the blankets. This one will hold from this end, and the other will hold from that end, and they'll start to elevate, teleport, elevating up, as they go beyond the atmosphere of the earth, and then they start entering the realm of the samawat, the heavens. And then as they're entering the heavens, the angels of the heavens, they start, what's that beautiful smell? I never smelled something like that before. And so those two angels, your escorts, they'll be saying, oh, that is the fragrance of so-and-so, the son of so-and-so, a believing soul that we're just taking back to their Lord, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But the one that disobeyed Allah and that rejected Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, two angels will come looking mean and stern and terrifying, and with a piece of parchment from hellfire and going up, 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 and the angels say, oh, what is that ugly smell in the heavens? Oh, so bad. And those two escorting angels will say, that is the smell of that soul of so-and-so, the son of so-and-so, who disobeyed Allah on this earth, who didn't remember Allah on this earth, who went against the will of Allah on this earth. And so which one of the two would you want to be? Because that's a journey that every single soul is going to make kafiriha wa mu'miniha. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make us of the people of real iman. May Allah ta'ala make us of the people of yaqeen, the people of mahabba, and the people of shawq and yearning to be with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in akhirah. Ameen ya Rabbil Alameen. Wa sallallahu ala Sayyidina Muhammadin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa sallam. Any quick question before Adhan al-Isha? Let's say one. No questions. Alhamdulillah. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك ونتوب إليك.